That last line that we always sing with great gusto, Hashivenu Elecha v'nashuva, Kadesh Yameinu Kikedem. Return, God, to us, and we will return to you. Renew our days as of old, is the end of the book of Echa. And so I encourage you to join us, ideally in person, but online at 8:30 tonight as we observe and commemorate Tisha B'Av, reading all of the book of Echa, but ending on that word of hope. We've come to the end of our sermon series. I hope you enjoyed it. I always look forward to your feedback. Constructive too, by the way. And Rabbi Stecker will be back next week. So the theme has been about the Hebrew language and just how language in general really helps transmit and preserves and is our tradition and our culture. And so with that, I end by saying I encourage all of us, and we'll discuss that, to learn in advance in our Hebrew knowledge. Because we could say that young children learn language to communicate, but adults learn a second language to find meaning first, and only if they want to communicate second. A story from when my children, who are going off to college this month, were very young. We had au pairs when they were growing up, and Gisele was our first au pair. She lives in Astoria, Queens now, and she was at their graduation party. She's from Brazil, and au pairs live with the families as a way to give care, but also to have that cultural exchange. They were 18 months old when she moved in with us. And of course, she connected back home. That was Skype back then, not even WhatsApp, with her family and friends in Brazil in Portuguese, which is the language of Brazil. And so one day she is on Skype, probably putting on some makeup, getting ready to go out for when we come home. And the girls are on her bed, probably drinking some milk before they go to sleep. And she says in Portuguese, Gisele does, "I'm not sure I can afford the dress." And then Natalie on the bed, 18 months old, responds in English, "But Gisele, you can afford the dress. You told us you have X and X money over here." She picks her jaw up off the floor and then tells us the story later and notes that without much effort, these 18-month-old girls were picking up Portuguese by osmosis, just by being around Gisele speaking it on Skype. The girls never learned Portuguese, but it's clear that if we had continued to immerse them, and some parents do that when they have au pairs, that they would have. It's proven that young children are sponges when it comes to language. And the corollary is maybe adults can't learn languages. Most people rely on this myth as an excuse to not study language as an adult. They say, "Why bother? I'll still take forever and sound like a buffoon speaking this second language." I did some research, and I can bust that myth. Yes, children learn languages quickly because they are still in the imprint stage of their minds, and they needed to communicate. The best metaphor, it is like an operating system on a computer. You need to have the operating system to run any other program. So children need to have a language quickly imprinted on their mind so they can continue to learn as children and then as adults. We already have our operating systems, hopefully operational. And so we don't need to learn a language to communicate. We are learning a language in order to gain an interest in another culture. And so anatomically, we are actually using a different part of our brain to learn language. So yes, it takes longer because it's in the culture center of our brain, and the front or whatever it is, the operating system part that we got our first language when we were children, that is already set more in stone. And so when we choose to learn Hebrew, wherever you are on the ladder of knowledge, you are connecting with our culture, with our tradition. You are improving upon and expanding upon your connection to the Jewish tradition, to the one above, and to our community. So instead of despairing that learning Hebrew is going to take us a lifetime, embrace it. Because it's often the process, the means, and not just the goal that is the key experience. It's then that we discover how beautiful Hebrew is. As I mentioned before, me'od shafa me'od shirit. It is a songful, a poetic language, and also how it unlocks our tradition. And I hope when you heard Elon Gilad a few weeks ago, he was able to sort of begin to that. That's why I was gravitating to him online, is because he helped me. He taught me new ways to unlock our tradition. One quick word about that, Yachadesh Yamenu Kikedem, as of days of old. But Kedem also means east. It also means forward. So renew our days as it once was, but also renew our days as we go forward. That is not a mistake. That is the beauty of Hebrew. In English, we have to choose the tense. Renew our days as of old. By having the word kekedem, we can hold on to the dual meaning of looking backwards as well as looking forwards. There are times that it's going to make you struggle to learn Hebrew, but I really encourage you to continue to learn. Learning is lifelong. So how are we going to continue to learn our Hebrew? I don't have classes to announce yet at the moment. I know the programming committee is working on actual sort of a Hebrew class. We'll have to find where the level is, because everyone here is at different levels. And so I know for a fact we're not going to be able to meet all of your levels. We're not a learning language academy as much as we would like. But we do live in the age of the internet. And so there are so many resources online. I will put this out in the back, in the front, so people can pick up. If you want me to email it to you, please email me, because it has links that you can just click on it. But My Jewish Learning is a site. There's a prayer book Hebrew course from Hebrew College. There are ulpans. The word ulpan means to sort of, to actually from the word aleph. Remember, I said aleph means to train, a caliprod, and ulpan is a Hebrew training school. Same root. And so ulpan is about sort of that intensive learning of Hebrew. And so those are for conversational Hebrew. A synagogue in LA, Valley Beth Shalom, has a series. Their summer series is going on right now, but they have ones probably in the fall. And there's even some online private tutors that you can engage. Now, I haven't, vetted all of these things, but, a conservative synagogue in LA, I would trust them and things like that. So, and certainly I can help you find more and more resources that are there. Just to buy a book or to sit with the transliterated Siddur, however you want to find a way to just increase your Hebrew a little bit more. And to inspire us, I end with a story that perhaps you've heard before, but it's always good to rehear stories because they can continue to inspire us. Actually, Elon talked a little bit about Rabbi Akiva, perhaps the real foundation person for the Jewish rabbinic tradition that we have. He believes that Rabbi Akiva actually was the one who really instituted the morning of Tisha B'Av as a way to continue to have our hope for the future. And according to tradition, he did not learn to read. He was illiterate till the age of 40. He had met his wife, Rachel, and Rachel's father was really rich and did not like that Akiva was an illiterate shepherd. And so Rachel said, I'll marry you, but you need to go to the academy to learn. And he was like, I'm 40 years old. I can't learn a language anymore. And according to the story, he brought the sheep to a brook. And there was a little waterfall on the brook, a little drip of water coming down. And there was a rock below. And the rock had a hole the size of the dripping water hole. Obviously, the hundreds, thousands of years of that water hitting the rock eroded the rock and cut a hole in it. And Akiva observes, if a hole can be carved out, solid rock can be carved out by a drip of water. If something soft as water can carve a hole, then the words of Torah can penetrate through my mind, which is hard as iron, as he said. And maybe these words will also make an impression on my heart. He went to the academy and became one of the greatest rabbis that ever lived. And yes, we know on Tisha B'Av, we also commemorate his ending at the torture of the Romans. But in some ways, we put that to the side of us for now. And we can just say, drip by drip, we can all learn more Hebrew, more prayer, and more Torah. And really, Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem, renew our tradition, renew ourselves as once was and will be in the future. Shabbat Shalom.